You trying to get crazy with this? Don't you know I'm local?
Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today I'll be playing Aetherflux Eggs, round 2, in the Timeless format. Now, Eggs is a classic magic strategy that's named after like the cycle of eggs in Odyssey, like Shadowblood Egg, that can sacrifice and like give you some mana back and a card. More recent examples of it are Chromatic Star and Chromatic Sphere that have like a more efficient version of that effect. And famously, Eggs got the card Second Sunrise banned in Modern for making games take too long. So this is my take on Eggs and Timeless. And so our win condition here is to use Aetherflux Reservoir. So this artifact basically gives our spells life gain storm. So the more spells we cast, the more life each spell gains us. And it also has the activated ability of pay 50 life. It deals 50 damage to any target. So we're trying to muster enough life to just kill the opponents in one shot like this, like Death Star Blast basically. And the whole rest of the deck is set up to enable that plan. So how do we make this happen where we can cast that many spells? Well, that happens with our cost reducers, such Cloud Key. We cast it, we name Artifact, that starts to make the spells cheaper. Semblance Anvil, we have to tuck an artifact under it, but it drastically reduces the cost. And so very rapidly we make all of our artifacts cost 0 mana in this deck. And the way we keep the cards flowing is with Mystic Forge. Allows us to cast colorless spells on top of our library. Can also pay 1 life to clear a top spell. And another source of card advantage / staying alive is the One Ring. So these work together to help us like really turbo through our deck. And you see we're packing like tons of Surveil and Scry lands to like keep, adjust the top of our library. Not to mention we have so many card draw, scrying effects, and some acceleration in there. So anyway, let's jump into some games. So this is a pretty nice, any Dark Ritual, One Ring kind of hand you're very happy with. Facing against the Loris decks, we are worried about like Thoughtseize or Inquisition sort of ruining our day. We're not going to Dark Ritual out any of our sort of eggs. Are going to keep a second ring on top because they Thoughtseize it away. We'll have a backup. So let's see what happens. Red white land, Ragavan. Okay, so that is pretty concerning. Fortunately for us, we're going to have ring protection, so Ragavan will not be able to steal something / generate a treasure. So we're just going to turn to One Ring, start the flow of cards. Amped Raptor. So, alright, it's already pretty clear that we're facing against energy. So they at least got a pretty dead hit off Amped Raptor. I mean, it will be like an energy ritual, but very glad it's not like an Ajani or something like that. So. Alright, so there's Aetherflux Reservoir. So if we can find another Dark Ritual, then we're going to be like off to the races pretty quickly. Okay. Now, this deck is not completely safe against energy. They have Static Prison, so like we have to be careful about our artifacts in play, knowing that that's a possibility. I'm going to go ahead and crack Chromatic Star, really trying to find one of our cost reducers right now. So we still have a land to play. Inventors Fair seems great since we're going to be able to start getting life already. We're going to use Lembas. Don't need the land at this point. Once again, we're trying to find either a Cloud Key or a Semblance Anvil. That's how we really go off. And of course, we need a Mystic Sanctuary at some point to keep the cards flowing. So shields are down though, so Ragavan's going to hit us. Alright, there's a Static Prison. And this kind of deck is tough when energy is as popular has such an efficient answer to any non-land permanent, so they grabbed our One Ring, but honestly it sort of did its job by like fogging and drawing us a couple cards. Like we're not completely out of it. The opponent is just going off right now. I was actually incredibly glad they played our Candy Trail. That has to be way weaker than like any card in their deck, so to me that was a sign of weakness, the fact they're playing Candy Trail. I know they had like a limited time frame to play it, but happy to see them start dirtling when we want to just go off. So this is so Demonic Tutor can get one of those aforementioned cost reducers, but it's incredibly slick. So I'm just so conflicted, and I'm like, do I get it? And then anyway, decide just to go for it. So we're gonna get another round of ring protection, get our Demonic Tutor. So usually like the tutor is not super necessary because we have card selection in like all of our lands and tons of our artifacts and like just a massive amount of card draw. So we can usually brute force our way to what we need. And okay, so opponent just... They're starting to go off with Ocelot Pride though, so like it's gonna start getting nasty for us. Alright. Surveil land is not incredible. We're gonna lead with that just to make our ring draw more potent. There's the Mystic Forge. However, it's not doing as much without our cost reduction, so I'm actually gonna bin it for now, even though that is one of the key cards we want. So I'm going to lead with a Candy Trail. You have to be careful with the auto tapper because, anyway, it gets all funky with some of these lands sometimes. So making sure I'm using the colors. Man, in case we spike like a Dark Ritual, that could really get us going. So, alright, there's a Semblance Anvil, which is part of the equation. So we always need to be very careful about what we tuck under it. And so we're definitely going to play Semblance Anvil, but like, do we stick a Reservoir under it or do we stick a Lembas? I opt to put a Reservoir under, even though like it is one of our win cons, but that allows us to play Lembas right away and just set up like next turn. Another Reservoir. Gonna go ahead and bin it. Feeling pretty safe with like a Demonic Tutor. Like if anything gets blown up, you know, like we're going to be able to replace it. Another Static Prison. So I'm bracing for next. So what they should take is the Semblance Anvil right here. But they take the One Ring. And I could see why. Like that is a scary card. And it's going to draw us a ton next turn, but the Anvil is what's going to allow us to really go wild. So we are going to take a massive hit right here. So we fall to 6, and they steal a Mystic Forge. And then I'm going to accelerate here because the opponent just has like a million triggers to get through. So they hit City's Blessing, Ocelot Prides are going off, and so now they have like a million creatures. So we're getting to like do or die mode right here. So we found another Semblance Anvil. So I'm going to start off with the Demonic Tutor right here. I'm going to grab one of our other copies of the One Ring. Because we have to survive this turn, and we just don't quite have like the cost reduction where we need it to. And obviously no Mystic Sanctuary. So it's all about living right now. I'm definitely going to get rid of that land. And yeah, once again, being careful with the auto tapper because, like I said, if we get a Dark Ritual, that can really kick things off. So we want to make sure it doesn't. All right, so they're going to bolt us in response to the One Ring on the stack. Galvanic Discharge just to charge up some energy, I guess. Now the reason to do that is, I think, to enable like Guide of Souls if they draw like extra of them, and it keeps their static prisons basically infinitely around. But we are still alive at 4 life. We've bought ourselves 1 turn off the one. We're gonna crack a Candy Trail here. Not like I really want to get the Reservoir in play. I'm holding onto the Chromatic Star because we need to storm off to like really gain a bunch of life. So holding on. Now one dangerous thing. So we are safe from them killing us this turn. But one tricky thing, especially with another Ocelot Pride, is that it's actually really bad for us if they go above 50 life, because that means we have to go off even harder to kill them, because we'll need 2 Death Star activation, no, 2 Reservoir activations to kill them. So I'm like carefully watching her, like, all right, they below 50 still, and they're gaining. All right, so they end at 46. All right, so as long as we can eclipse 50 life, we got them, and we have to be careful about like bolt and response. They have some treasures, you know. So another Reservoir is awesome. So we held the Chromatic Star last turn to help up the storm count right now. So we're going to start with Surveil land. Dark Ritual is nice, but the thing is, like, at this point, look how many lands we have. We have some cost reduction. Like, that's not what we want right now. So going to get rid of Dark Ritual at this point. We do want, like, the second Semblance Anvil or, like, a Cloud Key or 2 online. So going to activate the ring right here. Opponent has, meanwhile, like, 30 power on board. There's the Mystic Forge, and that is the real key. So now we're gonna start with Semblance Anvil. That way we basically don't have to pay mana the rest of the game. So Semblance Anvil, going to tuck Chromatic Star seems the least potent. Like Lembas is a little more powerful. Now we're gonna get Reservoir number 1 into play. And this is where we really start going off. So then Reservoir 2. And it's going to gain us life equal to the number of spells we've already cast this turn. So there's 3 life. Now 2 Reservoirs in play. each are going to gain us 4 life off this Mystic Forge. And we've got to see if it's do or die right now. We've got to start trying to storm off. So we have a blank on top. We're going to activate Mystic Forge at the cost of 1 life to clear the top of the deck. Dark Ritual's a blank. We have some options though. So we have a Lembas, which is a scry plus draw. And we also have Lembases in play, which we can sack to get a shuffle effect. Not to mention a Candy Trail. So I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. And I'm like, okay, let's... The safest thing, because I'm not certain if we can go off enough to kill them right now. So I'm going to crack Inventors Fair for the 4th One Ring of this game. It's going to cost us 0 mana right now. But that'll at least give us 1 more turn. And and it gives us a reshuffle. So there's a Cloud Key off the top. Going to gain us some more life off our 2 reservoirs. Alright, and then going to play a Lembas because, rather not Drylat Scryland, Lembas can guarantee Scry it away. And we're up to 39 life, like we're pretty close. So let's see. So we're going to get a draw and then get a new top of the library. And it's another artifact draw effect, so we're getting there. And the opponent packs it in, so if you like seeing energy decks suffer at the hands of combo, please tumble magnet the like button, and we're on to the next game already. So that was an awesome one. I mean, just holding on for multiple turns as they built like such a massive army. Like, anyway, this deck allows you to cast so many spells. Basically, you get to play way more Magic than your opponent does, So, on to the next one. Turn 1 Faithless Looting on the other side is a little concerning, especially since we Atraxa and Valgavoth hit the Vind. So, bracing for impact here off the turn 2 Reanimate. I'm definitely going to surveil that land away. Lembas. What are we looking for? So even though that's our win con, like that's... We need acceleration right now. We need cost reducers, dark rituals, so we're getting rid of that. And we draw a Cloud Key. Okay, so that's part of the equation. Alright, another Faithless Looting. The Faithless Looting decks are so strong. Alright, they put a couple more reanimation targets in there. Alright, and they turn to Valgavoth. Here we go. So, it's a pretty strong card. Lifelink, and it has Ward of... You have to sacrifice 3 permanents. So, we gotta figure out what to do. I'm gonna lead with Cloud Key, because once again, getting cost reduction to play. Reanimator's typically not a deck that interacts a whole lot. Maybe like they'll have some thought seizes, but like on the board stuff is usually pretty safe against them. So we're just gonna tank a Valgavoth hit right now. Opponent's gonna flashback Faithless Looting. Hoping to not see like Phoenixes. Alright, so they have like a Leyline and a land. Okay, so it seems like a pretty clear Dark Ritual, or sorry, pretty clear One Ring right now, just to not immediately die to Valgavoth. And we gotta try and make something happen right here. A Dark Ritual would be amazing because we can get Mystic Forge into play. Trying to figure out what to do. Surveil land seems nice here just to sort of... So there's another cost reducer. Gonna keep that on because it's, the Cloud Keys can eventually get there. So passing with Ring Protection, double Cloud Key means that pretty soon we get free artifacts. Once again, our highest mana value is 4. Now, they go ahead and tap out for a Leyline of Sanctity, and it didn't immediately strike me at how horrible that was for us. I just keep going through the motions, and eventually I'm like, wait a second, they have hexproof. Like, that stops our whole game plan. Like, the only way we can win is to 50 them to the dome with Reservoir, but we can't target them. So I eventually realized that, and you might see me pause and be like, uh-oh. But it turns out we have Jegantha, so we could theoretically attack them down with that. We did get rid of our 1 creature land, Hive of the Eye Tyrant. You can see that in the graveyard. So we got to try and figure out a way out of this. Now, one thing is anything that's put into our graveyard from this point in time, Valgavoth is sort of going to gobble up and let them use, potentially. So we have to be very mindful of that. So I'm just going to try and keep setting up here. And meanwhile, we've gotten enough Cloud Keys that everything is now free. So, naming artifact, of course. So we're gonna have to get creative because we cannot kill them the normal, conventional way this deck is designed to play. So, gonna crack a Chromatic Star, which they get under their Valgavoth. Once again, everything we're sacrificing, they're going to get, but it's just mostly like card draw spells. So we are drawing enough to chain another One Ring just to survive Valgavoth again, and we are recouping our life off Reservoir. So drawing off the ring. Another Mystic Forge. So I'm just going to keep charging up my life total here, since basically the way Reservoir works is your later spells are so much more valuable than your early ones. And so if you can keep casting those later, higher spells like 10th spell, 11th spell, it represents way more life than like when you have to like start over again. So I'm basically just charging up our life total as high as we can right now while the going's good, and also trying to think of another way to win the game. Now, you may have noticed that we gave the opponent a One Ring in that process, and it's at this point I'm like, oh man, that could actually be our win con. All we need them to do is play it, because they don't run the One Ring and reanimate, and the opponent plays it and pays 4 life for it. So like we're that much so I'm like okay, we have a win condition now. They played our One Ring. We have a way to win. Now, how do we survive Valgavoth and all these other crazy things? So, opponent has ring protection right now, but that doesn't really matter. They had hexproof. So, I'm trying to decide whether to nuke their Valgavoth at this point with the Aetherflux Reservoir. Now, it does have ward, sacrifice 3 non-land permanents, so we will have to like get rid of some stuff. And I'm just trying to make sure I don't have to like get rid of too many important pieces like cost reduction stuff. So on their end step, we are going to 50 Valgavoth and get rid of some stuff. So we have enough cost reduction. We get rid of 1 Cloud Key, 1 Candy Trail, and 1 Chromatic Star. The Chromatic Star will not draw us anything because Valgavoth is exiling it, so we don't get the death trigger for that. Opponent draws in response to the One Ring. Inventors Fair is going to help us out a little bit. Dark Ritual. So I'm going to move to accelerated speed here as we begin to combo off again. So just off the strength of Mystic Forge, just going to play as many spells as possible. And because our new win condition is the opponent killing themselves with the One Ring, what I'm trying to do is make ourselves basically unbeatable. I want to gain so much life that I can like nuke anything they put into play so that it will not threaten us. So I'm firing off all these dark rituals here because we don't need mana anymore. I'm gonna put Jegantha into hand and play it because at this point like we might be able to just start attacking them with Jegantha. So alright, the opponent starts taking damage from the ring and they're gonna activate it. Now they obviously can bring back Valgavoth or bring back Atraxa. Like there's a lot of crazy things. Not happy to see this Sorin Imperious Bloodlord. Really hoping it's not like Saint Elenda or something, because that's just represents a ton of life gain for them. Turns out it might actually be worse for us. It is a Vein Ripper, which has ward, sacrifice a creature. So I'm like, oh my goodness, like that's the only creature we have right now is our Jegantha companion. So I'm trying to figure out this. Definitely gonna just dome the Boggart for 50 damage. A little bit of overkill there. But I made a huge tactical error, both in that and this right here. What I should have done is dug for a copy of the One Ring, because Vein Ripper's triggers on any creature, by the way, so we're gaining them unnecessary life. What I should have done is dug for another copy of the One Ring to give ourselves ring protection, because then they couldn't target us with these Vein Ripper triggers, and they'd be stuck at the life total they were at. So basically unnecessarily spotted them like 6 life, and that it would have been trivial with our setup to find another One Ring. So that was like a pretty big mistake. Just not used to like having to kill Vein Rippers in this strange manner. So, but anyway, a better play would have been to get a new ring into play and then kill Boggart and then attack him with Jegantha. They have to chump, and then the ring's about to kill them. So What I did instead was just go off again, and I just wanted to get at least 2 Aetherflux Reservoir activations in the tank. So we're over 100 life, and we're bracing for impact. Keep activating it. All right, so they're digging, which means the ring's killing them faster, but they're also getting so much action. And so the opponent plays an Atali. Lembas, I'm going to get rid of that off the top of our Lembas. So I'm activating my Lembas to shuffle, because if they play our Lembas, they can sacrifice it to gain 3 life, and that's like a whole extra turn. So what I'm going to do is actually Mystic Forge away our own Lembas, because that's life gain. I'm okay with them taking this purely card draw artifact. So thankfully we had like control. It's like we're sort of like lantern control in that way. So except we're working our own library. So they get a new Sorin, and they get our spare supplies. So I'm fine with them just drawing more cards. I didn't want them gaining any life. All right, so Sorin, I mean, it's not a vampire, but they're tapped out. I'm just gonna nuke Atali right here. Like, that is one way we can die from a high life total, is them flipping Atali and then hitting us with like infect, basically, you know. So I'm gonna kill that. As it stands, the opponent only has 2 turns left till the ring kills them, unless they can muster up some life gain, or unless they're packing the 1 ring for some odd reason. So trying to figure out what to do. I also want to make sure I don't deck myself before they kill themselves, because we have just such insane card advantage engines right now. So I'm gonna play a new ring just to give ourselves ring, just to like cover all bases. So we're gonna get ring protection, and going to just shoot down Sorin, pay 50 life. Just, I don't want them using it to put a vampire into play. I mean, they have 1,000,000 mana, so like I guess they could do that, but it's all about reducing the amount of ways they could possibly kill us. So with triple reservoirs in hand, I'm just going to cast a few spells to gain some life. I decide just to pass right here, because once we're sort of getting close to decking ourselves, I don't want them to like gain a little burst of life and somehow make it. So the ring is now up to 4 counters, so it's do or die for them right now. They have to find a way to survive. And so the opponent's thinking about it. They have 1,000,000 cards in hand. And they pack it, so we win through a Ley Line of Sanctity. And only because the opponent cast our 1 ring and killed themselves. So anyway, if that doesn't make you love this deck, I don't know what will. That was incredible. Jegantha Companion on the other side. Likely energy, but we'll have to see. Gonna leave with the turn 1 Surveil. Feeling pretty happy about double 1 ring in hand, but we will need, you know, some acceleration most likely. All right, tap land from the opponent. Lembas. Okay, so we're gonna play our Hive, and gonna play Lembas. It's our stronger, you know, card draw artifact. Don't want Aetherflux. It doesn't appear like from the lands the opponent plays that we're going to get hit with Thoughtseize. So very slow energy start from the opponent. Just like they just drew all their tap lands and another tap land. All right, there's a Johnny. Okay, so definitely an energy deck. Okay, so have some options here. Gonna start with the Surveil land. Semblance Anvil. Okay, so there is one of our cost reducers. Definitely keeping that on top. Just going to spare supplies that into our hand and just play a Chromatic Star, and just pass. So we're set up pretty good. If they're not running like black and like Thoughtseize, like we're gonna have rings to just sort of turbo fog them. Now that is a problem. Goblin Bombardment means that they can flip a Johnny on demand and just shell out tons of damage to us if Ocelot Pride starts going up. And I was shocked to see them not just like flip the Johnny and just start going at our life total and making cats, you know. So the opponent's playing a little more cautious right there, which we're perfectly happy with. So trying to figure out, so we can Semblance Anvil. I am worried about Static Prison, but we can't like really follow it up super well. So I'm just gonna 1 ring right here, because like once, you know, Static Prison is so good against us, so we have to be careful. 1 ring sort of does everything, like we're okay with that gets prisoned. Like we're just trying to survive. and get to the point where we can really go off with our mana production. So Semblance Anvil and double Cloud Key means that if we can deploy them, we're going to be off. All right. One ring on the other side of the battlefield. Don't mind that at all. We're not ever really concerned about the one ring on the other side because we can always, if we can get enough life, just kill them on their upkeep. So another one ring's pretty nice. Gonna activate our ring, like just hoping for like a dark ritual or something just to really squeeze some extra mana right now. Well, no dark ritual, but double Semblance Anvil. So we're gonna play the first one, and it's all a matter like what do we want to tuck under it. Decide to tuck the one ring. I think this is a misplay by me right here. Should have just played the second Semblance Anvil. Okay, no, okay, this turns out to be okay. Never mind, I see what's going on now. So, Cloud Key reduces the next Cloud Key, which then reduces everything down to 0. So, there was a couple of ways to get there, but I think I got there in the end. Reservoir is now going to start recouping our life total. Once again, the opponent has ring protection right now. Alright, so land on top. Just going to activate Mystic Forge to see if we can keep going off right now. Because we've already cast a decent amount of spells. Would love to like really push ourselves over 50 life this turn if we can help it. So we're going to start with spare supplies. Clear the top of the library. We know that land is a blank. There's a Cloud Key. So we're sort of getting there. It does, however, look... Oh no, we do have another ring and a land drop still. So we can play a new ring. And we're getting so close. Like I really want to push and like just end the game effectively. So I'm going to keep the new ring. And drawing the Surveil land is nice. We still have a land drop, so that's one more card that can like clear the top of our library. And poor opponent has to keep passing priority because of Goblin Bombardment, so that's why their clock's suffering right now. So we're going to surveil that land away, see if we can find something. Chromatic Star with the land open means that's another way to clear the top of the library. So we're going to crack the star. And then I'm moving to Accelerated Speed here because as you can see, we got over the hump. So I'm not trying to like run up the score or anything. I'm trying to cover all my bases here because if we can get well over 100 life, that gives us multiple activations off Aetherflux Reservoir. In case they try to do anything funny, we can kill them and in response kill them again. So just doing that here, and you can see how wild this deck goes. Like this is our turn 5 right here. And so on their upkeep, the ring trigger, the one ring triggers on the stack. They're going to activate the one ring response. I'm going to activate Reservoir in response. We still have 2 more kill attempts in the tank. So the opponent is like just activating their stuff in response, but the way energy builds are like they don't have the kind of tools to like stifle a trigger like this right here. So yeah, the opponent just takes 50 to the face and we move on to the next one. So this deck is just so much fun. It brings me so much joy. All right, next we have Semblance Anvils and a Cloud Key. It's otherwise pretty slow though. Ruin Crab is a problem. With us being a combo deck, like we do run the risk of like having too many essential pieces end up in our graveyard. We have no means of recursion. Not to mention, we draw a lot of cards, and so we sort of help them deck us. Second Crab is bad news. Fetch land is way worse news. So we do have to pay attention as to what's disappearing from our graveyard. And I think had this hand been like a little faster, we'd be feeling a lot better. So Surveil land, I'm going to keep that on top because I didn't want that card, but we know the opponent's just going to mill it away. So they'll clear it for us. In fact, they'll clear 6 cards for us. All right, so opponent keeps whatever that was on top. It's a bad sign for us. And opponent has Surgical Extraction. They're able to see the writing on the wall, and worse than that, they actually surgical is like old school templating. Like new surgical effects like replace cards in hand with like zombies or extra cards, that one just takes it. So it can be basically not only a surgical effect but discard with huge upside. So losing Mystic Forge is a huge blow. It's not impossible to win because we can sacrifice Chromatic Stars and like use the one ring. Like we can muster enough life to kill them, especially because they're not threatening our life total. So we only need to gain 31 life to kill them. But that is a huge blow, losing Mystic Forge. So, alright, there's another land drop from the opponent. Once again, with all of our surveils, just keeping everything on top, just assuming it's going to get milled. Another fetch land is tough. So 31 cards right now, minus 6 from these two crab triggers at the moment. Now, we have a reservoir in hand. Like, that is essential at this point for like being able to kill them. So we're going to play a Cloud Key, naming artifact, and another Hidden Grotto, and checking the browser to see what's going on. Definitely don't want that. Gonna play Aetherflux Reservoir, and the opponent's gonna drown in the lock it. So the opponent is like locked in. They know what we're trying to do. Like, that's why they surgicaled the Mystic Sanctuaries. That's why they counter the reservoir there. I think I should have tried to bait a counter with the One Ring there. I think that would have been a better play, because I think that might have been our 4th reservoir. 1, 2 reservoirs in the graveyard thus far, I think. So, okay, I guess I was losing track. So, I think we should have tried to bait a counter with the One Ring to let the reservoir resolve, because that, like, we need that in play in order to actually kill them. Like, we're just not gonna have enough time to beat them down with Jegantha. Not to mention they have Drown on the Lock. Like, so there's another reservoir in the bin and a Demonic Tutor. Opponent is also drawing all their fetches. Mystic Sanctuary is a problem. Yeah, they're gonna get Drawn to the Lock to counter us. And unfortunately, what you just saw there was our 4th Aetherflux Reservoir heading to the graveyard. So I think I should. You know, the opponent has been playing super savvy. Like, they know exactly what we're trying to do. So they might not have bit on, like, trying to counter the One Ring, but we should have attempted to trick them that way. So with no reservoirs left and no time, we pack it in. So tough one. Surgical is extremely strong against this quiz. We were leaning very hard on, like, certain cards. Turn 1 Inquisition from the opponent, taking Dark Ritual. Great choice from them. That would have been extremely nice for us, but we had to move on. Gonna start the surveillance. Mystic Forge, you know, it's gonna be a little tough. We don't have any cost reduction, but it is one of the cards we want to see, and we can just use land drops to get there. Osseous Stick Twister. Awesome card in Duskmourn Limited, and we'll have to see what else the opponent is doing, but that could be potentially quite a problematic card, both in, like, the life gain it can provide them and the clock it can provide. The clock it can put on us. So another land there's not ideal. This is ideal though, them bricking on Inquisition. Alright, they're gonna Bajuka Bog us. We don't use the graveyard in this deck, so that's perfectly fine, and it's just not a very productive turn for them, so happy to see that. Alright, Hidden Grotto, we're gonna have to see what we can find. Demonic Tutor. I'm gonna keep it. Like, it's slow, but it's, like, good. And the auto tapper, once again, it always just, we should have used a colorless land. Okay, so the opponent's gonna bolt us in response to the Chromatic Star. But I wanted to just grab the Demonic Tutor and use it now, like, when we have nothing else better to play. And trying to figure out what to get, and it seems like the One Ring would be really useful. It's safe from Inquisition, and, like, it can just buy us some time against what the opponent's trying to do. Unfortunately, there's a Thoughtseize, so... Alright, they're going to take the One Ring. Another Thoughtseize takes Mystic Forge, so now also we're, like, out of card engines. So we have the Semblance Anvil, but it always has to sort of swallow up an artifact to do its thing. So I'm just going to play the Reservoir and hope that, like, just casting incidental spells the next couple turns can, like, buffer us against the Stick Twister. Alright, Deathrite Shaman from the opponent. They just had, like, the all discard hand. Like, I think we've been hit by, like, 2 Inquisitions, 2 or 3 Thoughtseizes, you know, so they've emptied our hand, but our deck is very good at drawing and filtering through cards. So, spare supplies into Cloud Key. The question is, do we play Semblance Anvil and tuck the Cloud Key for, like, the higher cost reduction upside? Just going to do that. Like, maybe they have Assassin's Trophy or Abrupt Decay or Beseiju, so just gonna take that risk. Opponents had a hard time finding Delirium though. Alright, there's White of the Reliquary. So now it makes sense why Bojuka Bog's in there, because that's like an excellent utility land to pull out with White's ability. So, alright, opponent's gonna Deathrite Shaman, take the Demonic Tutor and ding us for 2. Another Cloud Key. So trying to think of what to do here. We need some more card draw. Like we're gonna start taking a ton of damage from them right now. We just have nothing going on. Surveil land can at least clear the top of our library. One ring, amazing. And we have a lot of cost reduction right now. The problem is we don't have a means of drawing it. Lembas is a life gain / reshuffle, so we're gonna have to sort of wait until we can just draw the One Ring. But at least it's safe from Thoughtseize right now. So just gonna put Jegantha into hand and hopefully put a blocker out next turn. So let's see what the opponent does. Alright. Didn't appear to draw anything good. They just put Lurrus into hand. And alright, they're just gonna attack. Surprised they didn't hold up Deathrite Shaman. Maybe they have something else. Alright, so they pass. Alright, we have One Ring and we have Jegantha. So once again, you have to be very careful with the auto tapper. Gonna play the One Ring. See what that does for us. Alright, One Ring. And at this point, I'm going to link a video up in the corner. So I just played a Jund deck recently. Except it's like classic Jund, Boomer Jund. So if you're interested in Jund, my take on it, you can go ahead and watch that. So I'm going to just play Jegantha, just drawing brick cards right now. But we have ring protection. We have a huge blocker. Alright, Deathrite Shaman can still get through ring protection because it's just life loss. Alright, they're going to sacrifice the Shaman to White of the Reliquary. Alright, they're going to grab a creature land. Okay. And it gets Delirium online for the Stick Twister. So, that's going to trigger... So this is a mistake. We have ring protection, so we can just take the damage and it'll be prevented. I just discarded a card for no reason there, but we have plenty of lands. So like, it's not the hugest loss, but with ring protection, just take the damage off the Stick Twister. So we're going to play the Surveil land to set up our One Ring. Mystic Forge, there we go. Okay, we're in business now. All right. Now, one thing I want to ask, let me know in the comments, do you want to see more combo decks? Like, it's not what I typically play, but as you can see, I can get into it sometimes. So let me know if you want more of that. Mystic Forge, and here we go. Candy Trail. The Scry 2 is so clutch with Mystic Forge in play. So, and yeah, the opponent's seen it. They see the writing on the wall and they pack it in. So they were going to die probably that turn. So they just had sort of a super disruptive kind of start, and we just able to just outdraw, just draw back into the stuff we needed. So going to turn 1 a Cloud Key right here off a Dark Ritual. Going to play Candy Trail, and I'm so excited about what I see here that I forget that there's a Ragavan on the other side who's just going to steal our top card. So I'm like, oh yeah, let's get that Demonic Tutor for turn 2. This is a massive mistake right here. And it's like right now where I'm like, oh no, I just left the Demonic Tutor on top for a Ragavan. So that was a huge mistake. What I should have done is inverted the order, put the Reservoir on top, which they can't even cast. Instead, give them Demonic Tutor, which can allow them to find any silver bullets they might have, because obviously we're some sort of artifact decombo. Like that's already apparent from what we played. So that was a pretty bad misplay. Deciding about Lembas, going to draw off Chromatic Star, because that's going to draw us into the Lembas and allow us to play it and try and put a dead card on top of the library. Try and make up for that massive mistake before. So Dark Ritual, that we definitely don't want them to have. Like, who knows what they could do with the Dark Ritual. So I was going to bottom it, but then like, you know what, like, I'm just going to draw it and power out a Reservoir right here. we will have an unknown top of the deck, but at least like the Dark Ritual we have in our hand, we have a Reservoir in play. Like any subsequent spells are gonna start gaining us life. Like, let's see what happens. So, thankfully got the Dark Ritual off the top of the library. Okay, so this is Jeskai energy, less commonly seen. So they're tuned the narrative, so they're more focused on the energy part of it. So, and the opponent got a Dark Ritual anyway. And so I was like, oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me. So that was pretty bad. And we get whammied by Wrath of the Skies right here. And they had energy banked up, so that had to be the card that they Demonic Tutored for, you know. So I don't ever see energy decks running Wrath of the Skies, but we happen to give a Demonic Tutor to the one energy deck that is running Wrath of the Skies. So that was not great, and we have 3 lands in hand. So that was tough, and who knows? Like maybe they didn't even DT for that. Maybe they had Demonic Tutor. This is sort of more control-y, mid-rangey energy deck if they're running Wrath of the Skies. So I'm going to bin that, even though that can replace itself. Like we need some firepower. We need like the One Ring. We need Mystic Forge. You know. So I might have been calling it Mystic Sanctuary in this vid. Hopefully I didn't, but it's Mystic Forge. So. Amped Raptor into another Guide of Souls is tough because that gets some of that extra energy to send something to the skies. There comes Ocelot Pride, so it's unraveling pretty quickly. But I'm just kicking myself for that stupid mistake. Like that was tough. So opponent is starting to go off. Not to mention like generating a ton of energy. So there's a Mystic Forge, but it's probably too little too late. Aetherflux Reservoir, you know, it's we need to like a One Ring into like, I don't know, it's gonna take a miracle, like One Ring into like One Ring to buy us enough time, and then draw some Dark Ritual. I don't know. It's gonna play Mystic Forge and pass, but it's looking incredibly bleak for us right now. Alright, so they didn't play anything pre-combat. They're going to attack in and be able to use Guide of Souls on one thing. And it makes sense, yeah. They use it on Ocelot Pride just to gain a bit of life. Alright, so we tank a pretty huge hit right here. Down to 3 life. And if we Mystic Forge away our top card of our deck, and there's a Gom Bombardment. So just pack it in. We're dead right now. That one was tough. That one felt like it actually could have been winnable. I mean, you've seen us beat up on energy decks already. Like, it's definitely winnable. So, but maybe that more control-y one is a tougher matchup with Wrath of the Skies. Loving this hand with Dark Ritual. Decide to go for the Cloud Key. In the dark, it's tough. Like if the opponent goes like turn 1 Thoughtseize, takes away, or anyway, just wanted to use the Dark Ritual. Not to mention, like our One Rings will be coming down pretty soon anyway with what we've played. All right, red-black land from the opponent. They play Strike It Rich, Dark Ritual, and I'm just like, oh no. Buried Alive, triple Phoenixes, on turn 1, no big deal. So we're going to be taking 9 damage, and basically that line I chose of turn 1ing a Cloud Key instead of turn 2ing a One Ring is going to be what decided the game. Now, like, you know, if they did a turn 1 Thoughtseize, we might be feeling different. But if we could One Ring right now, that could fog the Phoenixes, allow us to dig in. We might be able to find a Dark Ritual, get the Cloud, you know, get the Semblance Anvil out, and then, you know, like, then we might be off to the races. Like you've seen, we survived against a turn 2 Valgavoth earlier, so there's a lot of tough calls like that. Like, do you turn 1 like a Semblance Anvil or a Cloud Key, or do you wait and try and like turn 2 a One Ring or a Mystic Forge, you know? So there's a Mystic Forge. So I'm gonna go ahead and fight the good fight and tuck something under Semblance Anvil, but we're just outside of like playing a One Ring right there. So Faithless Looting from the opponent. And the thing is, like, since we didn't fog this 9 damage, like, we just gonna not have a lot of life to play with the ring triggers anyway. Alright, Thoughtseize from the opponent, taking the One Ring, and that was our last ghost of a chance right there. So going to attempt to, like, you know, if this Mystic Forge top card is the ring, like, we might be able to get there. Top card being Mystic Forge. I mean, we could clear the top, but then if it was a ring, we would just die to it on our upkeep. So gonna play our Lembas and try one more time for one ring, but like, we could sacrifice Lembas on our untap to survive. Anyway, that was tough. But once again, I think even turn 1 facing 3 Phoenixes, like if we turn to a 1 ring, we could easily win through that. So on to the next one though. There's another 1 ring. So this is a deck, because we have so many Surveil lands and Scry lands and Scry effects and draw effects, like you may be noticing that we play the 1 ring a lot. We see it early, we play it often, and that's one thing to love about this deck, because that 1 ring is insanely strong. So we're going to try the turn 2 1 ring gambit right here. The opponent's Authority of the Consuls is not going to help them that much in this matchup. So there's a Cloud Key. Alright, Bishop of Wings, some sort of life gain, possibly Angel strategy. Dark Ritual is incredible. Alright, so what do we play? Going to play Hidden Grotto. There's a Semblance Anvil. And so we have a Chromatic Star in play, so I can just crack the star and have the 3 mana available. Definitely going to Dark Ritual this turn. Like, we're going to use all that mana. And I forget that we have a star in play already, so I play another star to use it to draw, and then I'm like, wait a second, like, we already had one in play. So could have just used the one in play, because we want to get that Semblance Anvil into our hand. So it costs 3 mana. We have to tuck something under it, but it's going to reduce Cloud Key to 1. So probably stick the supplies under it, then play the Cloud Key with our last 1 mana. Name Artifact. We are so close to getting in on that Mystic Forge. Gonna play Lembas and just set up Mystic Forge number 2. That's perfect. So come next turn, we should be able to just go off and get there, or at least do a whole lot. All right, there's another life gain payoff from the opponent. Cloud Key means that we're completely off to the races now. Cloud Key for 0. Naming Artifact means that our Mystic Forges are both free. That'll allow us to, like, perfectly set up our 1 ring. So we're going to just clear the top with a Mystic Forge. There's another Semblance Anvil, which we don't need. We can just cast it to clear the top of the deck. And, yeah, not tuck anything. Play the next Mystic Forge to clear the top of the deck. Still have our ring activation. There's an Aetherflux Reservoir. All right, it seems like it's coming together. Another Mystic Forge. You could see, like, this is our turn 4 on 3 lands, and yeah, we win. I mean, this deck is just super fun. It's ridiculous. I can only describe it as like a beautiful monstrosity. Like, there's so many decision points, so many interesting and awesome things you can do, like barely surviving, then recouping all that life and nuking them. Like, there's just all, and you get to play so many gameplay actions, so it's just super fun. This is round 2, so I'll link round 1 right now. And one, like, major upgrade in this version is that I really packed it full of the Surveil and Scry lands. And I had more utility stuff like Blast Zone and stuff before, but this really helps you, like, that. Like, I definitely felt the difference this time. Like, with Mystic Forge, you barely ever miss now. It's so much selection. So anyway, it's really, really nice. But in the old one, you can actually see me battle against stuff like Orcish Bowmasters and Eidolon of the Great Revel. So, like, there's some cool moments in that as well. Now, we do have a lot of possible tools in this deck. Like, there's a lot of room for customization. We still have Chromatic Sphere if you want to go that direction, Golden Eggs, other stuff. You can change up your win condition by having Karn the Great Creators to, like, fetch, you know, Reservoir, or, like, you know, some giant artifact creature or something like that. There's other things you can do. It doesn't benefit from the artifact cost reduction though, but it can be cast off Mystic Sanctuary. So that's just something to consider. There were certain those matches, like the opponent gives themselves hexproof or like Surgicalist, where you're really wanting like another win con. So, like, here's some things I'm considering. Like, Retrofit or Foundry can just generate some creatures, possibly like be a win con. Simulacrum Synthesizer, we could go off with like a one-off and that, just in case. Possibly Thousand Moon Smithy as well. Tezzeret. These are all just different things you can use as like an alternate win con, but it's like, you gotta be careful because it's just very like fragilely put together. If you put too much fluff in there, then all of a sudden it loses its potency. So like you got to be careful with those kind of decisions. Another way to add some more like win cons is in the mana base. So like you can put something that generates creatures like Fountain Port or Mirex, but I think those are a little too slow. One that I'm very much considering is like a 1-of Field of the Dead, and you can switch out the swamps for like a bunch of like black MDFCs to like really change like the names of the lands, you know, to enable Field of the Dead. But as you can see, like we don't tend to like get that many lands in play most of the time, so like maybe that's too optimistic. I actually have played another version of Eggs, which I titled Metalwork Mill, and I'll link that right now. And that one, instead of Aetherflux, uses the combination of Metalwork Colossus, so it's a 10/10 that gets a cost reduction equal to the non-creature artifacts you control, and you can bring it back from your graveyard by sacking 2 artifacts. So bring it back into your hand. And so what I do is pair this with Altar of Dementia. So it's a very similar shell. It has a bunch of cost reduction and get the artifacts in play. Basically, like you can loop Metalwork Colossus to mill them 10 cards at a time. And that requires usually having some artifact lands to help out also. But so there's some upsides and downsides to that one. You're not gaining life off that combo, so like it's harder to stabilize sometimes, but you can also just win by just beating down with 10/10s sometimes. Like the removal and timeless doesn't always match up super well unless they have like Solitudes or something like that. Like Fatal Push, this does nothing to this guy. So I've really tried to like squeeze them both into the same deck, but like once again, like it's so fragile, like squeezing in too much stuff that doesn't quite fit on the same plan is just risky. So anyway, this is just a fun deck. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.